Utah is a complete and utter disaster. It's a horrible season. It's not good. It's going poorly. Is it as simple as Cam Rising's injury? That's Drake's all locked on Big 12 to talk about that and more in a loaded lineup of Big 12 games. Again, even though it's not as deep as it often is because there are these things called bye weeks, which I don't know, maybe we should outlaw them just for fun. But is it as simple for Utah this year, Drake, as Cam Rising got hurt and when he did play, he wasn't himself and they didn't have a good option behind him? Or do you think that this is just going to compound the idea that, yeah, Kyle Whittingham should probably hang it up?
So many things here. Number one, bye weeks stink. Iowa State lost its bye week and moved down 2 spots in the AP poll because they had the week off. Another thing, Oklahoma State. Let's give some reprieve to Utah fans. Oklahoma State brought back 20 of 22 starters on a team that won 10 games, and they suck equally bad, if not worse. And then there is Utah, who lost Cam Rising. You think, okay, well, can they win with Isaac Wilson? He was good against Utah State. The answer is no. The answer is very much no. They can't win. They lost to Houston, of all people. Houston, of all people. And let me tell you, the EPA.
That Houston.
When we talk efficiency, this isn't just a Cam Rising thing. Utah's defense, their defense is so good. 69th, nice, against the rush this season. 39th against the pass. That's not the elite Utah defense that we were promised. But Utah's offense, they can still find a way to get it on the ground, right? Come on. 93rd in the country out of 134 FBS teams running the football, 102nd throwing the football, and 120th on 3rd and 4th down success at a 32.6% clip. That is what we in our industry call bad. That's not one player. That's not one old, very, very old player who's off his parents' insurance and has a house. That is instead something that is structurally wrong with your football team and the reason your offensive coordinator is no longer employed.
The reasons for Kyle Whittingham to retire, I think, just keep stacking up. You've got your head coach in waiting. I just worry, Drake, that about a couple of things. Number one, would he try to get Cam Rising that 8th year of eligibility, and would he go down that path? Because at this point, even if Rising decides to play another season of college football, if you're Utah, you have to cut ties and say, no, we can't do this anymore. We can't put our fans through the same thing. We can't put our players through the exact same questions, the exact same debate. But here's where I also come down on Whittingham thinking, probably time to hang it up. Been there for a very long time. And it's not going well with the backup quarterback. But it shouldn't be this bad. No. I just watched Indiana win a Big Ten game by 14 points with their backup quarterback. That's what good coaching looks like. You can blame Isaac Wilson all you want. Who recruited Isaac Wilson? Kyle Whittingham and this staff. Who's coaching Kyle Whittingham and this staff? I don't expect with a backup quarterback, I'll get to your question in just a moment. I don't expect with a backup quarterback you be able to live up to the preseason conference championship aspirations that Utah very reasonably had coming into this season, but it should still look better than this. I just worry that this could continue to cycle. I don't think the vibe around Utah is any good, and I think this is the time to say, you know what, it's not a pretty ending, but it's the right time to just call it quits. Yes, Drake, go ahead.
Who hosted Locked On Pac-12 last year?
Someone who was a strikingly good-looking individual with incredible podcasting skills.
Name Spencer McLaughlin, ring any bells? Who you would have followed Utah pretty closely then last year? Is that correct?
Yeah, that is indeed correct.
How many competent quarterbacks did Utah have on its roster last season? Healthy, competent quarterbacks, please.
A half. I'll call Bryson Barnes. He went to USC and won. He had some nice games. They were 6-1 and ranked 13th in the country, and then went 2-3, down 2-4 actually if you include the bowl game down the stretch. So yeah, it was not good, and you felt they're a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away, and then they change backup quarterbacks. They try to go with the same starting quarterback. Can't keep him healthy, and that's not entirely their fault. But you make a good point that Utah is, for the second straight year, getting nothing out of that position.
They also won last year without a full competent quarterback. They still won football games. And then this season it just compounded into bad, which bad enough to lose to Houston, who is going to be good under Willie Fritz. I do believe that. They're not this season. We all accepted that. Everyone's acceped that. Except
Why
for
did TCU lose to Houston,
Utah,
by the way?
The two teams that somehow couldn't accept that. So Spencer, for me, It is a matter of, if I am the Utah Utes, if I am that establishment, I have anyone else on roster that can play quarterback who's not Isaac Wilson. He's a true freshman, 3 years. Sure, great. It's your time, baby. Get out there. Right now, you should have someone behind Cam Rising who is, 2-year starter from Northern Arizona who came down, who has legitimate snaps in college football. That's how a lot of schools do it. Utah said, no. If Cam Rising goes down, we're trusting the kid who's our rival's best quarterback's brother. That'll show them, huh? And that last name is maybe the reason Utah is 4-4 right now.
And the Holy Wars next week, I'm told you will be in attendance in Salt Lake City. If ever there was an opportunity for Kyle Whittingham to get me to flip my opinion here, that it's time for him to call it a career, go into the College Football Hall of Fame and say, hey, this was an exceptional run in Salt Lake City. Winning that game would be a turnaround point. Because I think if he loses that one, with the preseason expectations that those teams had, I think even Utah fans would have to look at him and say, this is not working anymore.
Right, and he's a statue coach. They're going to build it at some point. But
they should.
If you end this season 5-7, miss a bowl game, that was your last year as the head coach. Oh, that's really tough. And if you come back next year with Cam Rising and you go 6-6, that's even tougher. At that point, the bad taste in our mouth has multiplied. So that's a decision Kyle Whittingham will have to make. 3 months ago, I would have guaranteed you he would retire after a college football playoff caliber season. They did not have that this year. There will be a real decision at the end of the season that Kyle Whittingham makes. And at this point, it's going to suck either way. If you risk coming back and further tarnishing your reputation, that's tough. But if you if you retire and your last season was this, also not very fun.
It's not, but think about this. Bill Belichick at the end with the Patriots, was it good? No, it was terrible. They stunk. They weren't winning Super Bowls. They weren't even getting to the playoffs at the end. It doesn't always end with Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl. Like, it just doesn't always finish the way that you would like it to. I think you just have to realize that Utah, they don't even feel like, Drake, they're one season away. Like, if Whittingham were to come back for next year, I don't think he can get them right back to contending for a Big 12 championship. They could be better, but I think they're at least 2 years away from doing that. And I think that's a natural handing off point to say, Morgan Scalley, the keys are yours. We already know that. Start establishing your program and build it however you like.
Yeah, Witt said publicly he won't be there in 2027. He doesn't know how many more years he has left in him. This, again, was probably in his head the last year, the swan song, go out the right way, and he's not going to go out the right way. But you're right. He needs to go out pretty darn soon because it's not working. And this is not an indictment on Kyle Whittingham's coaching career. Nick Saban also admitted he lost it at the end. He just couldn't keep up with what college football has become. He didn't like it. Bennett, the same way in basketball at Virginia. Just, hey, at some point.
Tony Bennett and about 5 other legendary coaches in college basketball, Roy Williams and Coach K, come to mind.
Yeah, who are like, hey, I would love to keep coaching, but this isn't what I know of college athletics, and I'm done doing this. It's stupid. I'm not a businessman. I'm a basketball coach or a football coach. It doesn't mean Kyle Whittingham's bad. Nick Saban wasn't bad. They just at some point age out of an era that doesn't include a guy like that.
I completely agree. In 30 seconds or less, what's your favorite game in the Big 12 this week and why?
Oh, I can't wait to watch the old fighting Baylor Bears play the TCU Horned Frogs because I'll be there.
How about this? Revelation of the year. Baylor favored.
In the Battle of Mid. In a mid-off this week in Waco, Texas. Give me the Bears. I think, once again, you're seeing chaos across the Big 12. We've had the most games in the FBS where a score has flipped in the fourth quarter, 17 of those, where a team who was down came back to win. That's crazy, but you still have 4 teams at the top that are very successful. I do like the Baylor-TCU matchup. I think Texas Tech, Iowa State could get interesting, probably won't. It should be a week of blowouts.
Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12. Drake, thanks for the time. As always, wait for the awkward outro. And 3, 2, 1.